Thank you for joining us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. The world will have to learn to live with heat waves. The United Nations Weather and Climate Agency has warned as much of Europe is roasted in high summer temperatures. The World Meteorological Organization said that in the future, people could expect heat waves to occur more often and be more intense because of human-induced climate change. But while Europe is sweltering under the influence of a strong high-pressure system, heavier than usual rainfalls is expected here in Africa. We'll focus on these various weather events across the world today on the program. Just stay with us. Nigeria witnessed devastating flash floods with over 150 people died in central region of the country. The disaster displaced thousands and destroyed homes. Morocco town suffered the most. With more than 150 dead, buildings collapsed and roads were inundated in the town, which is located more than 350 kilometers by road from the capital, Abuja. Nigeria's rainy season, which usually lasts 6 months, was just getting started in May when this happened. Flooding, usually caused by heavy rains and poor infrastructure, wreaks havoc every year, killing hundreds of people across the country. The floods highlight the dangers of building on waterways, while climate change exacerbates the situation. Warnings about floods were issued earlier. The disaster response involves multiple agencies. In 2024, more than 1,200 people were killed and 1.2 million displaced in at least 31 out of 36 states in Nigeria, making it one of the country's worst flood seasons in decades, according to the National Emergency Management Agency. Scientists have also warned that climate change is fueling more extreme weather patterns. The blistering early summer heat wave that brought life-threatening temperatures across much of the northern hemisphere is a worrying sign of things to come, the United Nations weather experts warn. 3 days after Spain's National Weather Service confirmed a record 46 degrees Celsius reading in the southern town of El Granado, there's been little let-up in stifling day and night temperatures across the continent and beyond. In Barcelona, a road sweeper reportedly died on Saturday, the 28th of June, after completing her shift, prompting an investigation and widespread public appeals to keep out of the sun wherever possible.
We are currently under the influence of a strong high-pressure system. This is trapping hot air from northern Africa over the region. And as we can see, it's having a pretty big impact on the way we feel and the way we are acting. Western, southwestern Europe, both overnight temperatures, which are the minimum temperatures, and daytime temperatures, the maximum temperatures. We have seen a few monthly station records in June. We are the first day of July, so obviously we'll be monitoring the situation as it evolves. What is exceptional, and I would stress exceptional but not unprecedented, is the time of year. You know, we are first of July, and we are seeing episodes of extreme heat, which normally we would see later on in summer.
A blazing midday sun scorched 49-year-old sanitation worker Patricia Zugbara in the 3rd district of Paris as she set about her shift. She is not unaware of the risk the heat poses to her health.
You need to take shelter and drink some water, take a 5-minute break, then continue working. They give us water, cafes even offer us bottles of water. Honestly, it's really warm, very warm-hearted.
I
am checking if there are any special instructions while the workshop was closed. We have an email inbox that informs us of anything that could be a sort of special assignment or something. Lately, we've been receiving them almost every day as the situation evolves. We move from level 2 to level 3. then from level 3 to level 4. So we systematically receive an email informing us of the current situation and the actions to take. The main measures are hydration, avoiding prolonged exposure to the sun, and especially not hesitating to seek help if you experience even minor health issues. The workshop is always open and accessible, so we strongly advise anyone with a minor problem to come and cool down here, even if it's just for a quarter of an hour in a cool environment. Normally, we take a break at 9:30 a.m., but we've extended it to around 10 a.m., allowing them to work a little longer in cooler conditions beforehand. The break itself has also been lengthened by 10 minutes, and at the end of the day, we allow them to leave slightly earlier so they can freshen up and change clothes. These are the only changes to the schedule. Regarding the work itself, we avoid what we call arduous tasks that can be postponed, ensuring they are not carried out during the heat wave.
Et au niveau du travail, on évite ce qu'on appelle les tâches pénibles qui peuvent être reportées. On évite de les faire pendant la canicule.
Alors la première mesure que nous mettons en place, c'est
The first measure we implement is, of course, to reduce the most arduous tasks carried out by agents during the hottest hours of the day, typically in the afternoon. For example, we'll reduce or cancel bulky removal operations which are extremely physically demanding and can be postponed. We will also delay non-urgent tasks that require significant physical effort. We have plans prepared in advance to determine how to adjust work during heat wave periods. These are topics we regularly discuss with other cities, as well as with our contractors who carry out similar tasks, exchanging best practices to ensure that, unfortunately, we can adapt to these heat wave episodes, which are likely to become increasingly frequent. We have staff within the Paris Public Cleaning Service who are extremely committed and highly dedicated to their work. Often, when I accompany the teams, the agents tell me that extreme weather conditions are simply part of the job. They take pride in being present as much as possible to carry out their duties, even when the weather is extremely challenging. Naturally, this means we must implement work arrangements and conditions that ensure the work, though demanding, remains manageable.
France registered its second warmest June since records began in 1900, as Europe sweaters under an early summer heat wave. High temperatures across Europe during the last days of June and the first week of July broke records, leading to the closure of nearly 2,000 schools in France at midday on Tuesday, the 1st of July. The Health Ministry said that a detailed report showing the number of deaths linked to the soaring temperatures with medical data will not be available until the autumn. Around 3,700 heat-related deaths were reported in 2024, a year without red alert for heat waves. In 2023, which saw hotter summer temperatures, more than 5,000 deaths linked to heat were recorded. Relief is expected to start to arrive from the Atlantic from the 3rd of July, bringing thunderstorms and cooler temperatures to parts of Western Europe. Weather experts say part of the reason for Europe's heat misery is because it is in the grip of a strong high-pressure weather from trapping hot air from northern Africa. Another part of the climate puzzle is that sea surface temperatures in the Mediterranean are exceptionally high for this time of year.
Why is it happening? Various reasons. One of them is that sea surface temperatures in the Mediterranean are exceptionally high for this time of year. It's the equivalent of a land heat wave. The Mediterranean Sea is suffering a pretty extreme marine heat wave right now, and that tends to reinforce the extreme temperatures over land areas.
According to the World Meteorological Agency, nighttime minimum temperatures and daytime maximum temperatures broke monthly station records for June in parts of Western and southern Europe, partly explaining why the heat waves is so draining.
What are the impacts and where and who do they affect most? As we all know from the World Health Organization, the vulnerable, the poor, the elderly, the infirm suffer the most. They are the most vulnerable, but everybody is at risk. Yes. If you go out without water in the middle of the day to do jogging, have a bike ride, you will probably have health problems or even die. So everybody is at risk. People in towns and cities, more so because of what we call the urban heat island effect. This is in rural areas, you've got more greenery, more trees which absorb the heat. Urban areas, you've got concrete surfaces which reflects it, makes the problem worse.
The WMO insists that warnings from national weather services and coordinated heat health action plans are increasingly important to protect public safety and well-being.
We still see cold waves in winter. They are becoming fewer, further between. We still do see them, but the heat waves now are becoming the real problem. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is co-sponsored by WMO and UNEP, shows how the frequency and intensity of extreme heat events is increasing in Europe. And by 2050, about half the European population may be exposed to high or very high risk of heat stress during summer, and especially during southern Europe and increasingly in Eastern Europe. In Eastern, Western and Central Europe. And this is all according to the IPCC. What can we do? It's important to stress that every single death from heat is unnecessary. We have the knowledge, we have the tools, we can save lives. Extreme heat is one of the priorities of the International Early Warnings for All initiative, and we are getting much, much better at issuing warnings for extreme heat, as we are seeing at the moment. We're also getting much, much better at coordinating these warnings with action plans. So you've got the meteorological organizations will issue the red alert, the amber alert. That will then trigger coordinated action across the board.
Earlier in March, more than 60 top scientists warned that from carbon pollution to sea level rise to global heating, the pace and level of key climate change indicators are all in uncharted territory. Greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels and deforestation hit a new high in 2024, an average over the last decade, a record 53.6 billion tons per year, that is 100,000 tons per minute of carbon dioxide or its equivalent in other gases, they reported in a peer-reviewed update.
Nous sommes très heureux.
On their part, the Catholic bishops of Africa, Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean issued the first ever joint statement on climate on the 1st of July, standing together as representatives of the Global South. They demanded ambitious implementation of the Paris Agreement and lay out the Church's commitment to action ahead of COP30.
We therefore call for fair and accessible climate finance for local communities and organizations, including women, that does not generate more death, to ensure resilience in the Global South. Likewise, we demand that the ancestral wisdom of our communities be heard. Stop the expansion of fossil fuels, expand clean, renewable energy solutions in consultation with men and women in local communities, especially decentralized solutions. Rich countries ought to recognize and pay their ecological debt without continuing to in-debt the Global South. Likewise, as a church, beyond criticism, we want to promote alternatives, educational programs, new economic pathways based on degrowth, circular economies, ecological spirituality, protection policies, accompaniment of women and girls who are the most affected, and strengthening of interreligious networks for the defense of life.
Since 2022, Morocco's largest desalination plant, located nearby, has been producing 4.4 million cubic feet of water a day. The supply irrigates 12,000 hectares of farmland and provides drinking water for 1.6 million people in Agadir and surrounding areas. At the end of 2026, officials hope to boost production to 400,000 cubic meters of water, half of which will be designated for agriculture. Without that water, a catastrophic scenario would loom over Morocco, agronomists warn. Agriculture, which contributes about 12% to Morocco's overall economy, has been badly hit by 6 consecutive years of drought, prompting the country to go all in on desalination. Across Morocco, there are 6 plants capable of producing 270 million cubic meters of water per year, with a target of reaching 1.7 billion cubic meters by 2030. While around 1,500 farmers in the Agadir region make use of the water provided by the plant, others don't because it's simply too expensive. Among them is Hassan, who grows courgette and peppers on half a hectare of land and uses water from a well shared with 60 other farmers. 38-year-old farmer Muhammad, who now grows 20 hectares of tomatoes, with 60% of his crop marked for export, said desalination has saved agriculture in the region.
With seawater desalination, we gained an extra push that allows us to work and develop even further. We used to be limited by the amount of water available in the aquifer, which was a real obstacle, like a wall preventing us from increasing the area of our crops. But thanks to God, seawater desalination has given us the energy to double our cultivated areas and our production to meet the needs of international and national markets. I have 5 hectares, thanks be to God. Each year I expand my area so it's now at 20 hectares. There's an improvement even in terms of yield. We used to produce 160 to 180 tons per hectare. Today we're at 300 tons. And that's despite the emergence of new viruses that have affected production. We are resisting to move forward towards better production.
Desalinated water is sold at 56 cents per cubic meter, excluding taxes, compared with 11 cents per cubic meter for conventional water. That hefty price tag comes despite a 40% subsidy from public coffers. Highly concentrated brine is a byproduct of the desalination process. While Morocco has a growing share of renewable energy, 62% of its electricity came from coal in 2023 and 14% from oil and gas, according to the International Energy Agency.
Desalination processes are known to be energy-intensive processes, whether we're talking about membrane processes or distillation processes. In Morocco, at the Dakhla project or others that are in the pipeline, these projects are designed with latest innovations and technologies in energy efficiency, whether that's in membrane filtration processes or energy recovery.
The stakes in the wider region of Sumasa, which accounts for 85% of Morocco's fruit and vegetable exports, are high. Nearly 2 million tons are produced each year, with a turnover of $1.1 billion. Officials of the Agricultural Development Office say the desalination plant had so far helped to protect $1 billion of revenue a year and more than 1 million jobs.
The idea of desalination project in the Toutkar area has emerged over the years primarily because of the pressure on conventional resources such as dam water and groundwater. It is also driven by the expansion of urban, tourist and agricultural demand, which has made it practically essential today to supplement conventional water resources with an input of desalination seawater.
Right solutions and the financial backing needed to combat the climate crisis has been a major concern over the years. Civil society groups say there is a lack of clarity and ambition in climate finance to enable the energy transition. Under the Paris Agreement, developed countries have a responsibility to provide international climate finance for mitigation and adaptation in developing countries. The United Nations Human Rights Chiefs, on his part, warned that the climate crisis is threatening the right to life, as heatwave roasted southern Europe.
The climate crisis is a human rights crisis. Rising temperatures, rising seas, floods, droughts, and wildfires threaten our rights to life, to health, to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, and much more. And the heat wave that we are currently experiencing indeed leads us to the adaptability measures that are absolutely necessary, because otherwise, again, rights would be impacted as a result.
The High Commissioner stressed that if we don't safeguard people's lives, their health, their jobs, and their future opportunities, the transition will replicate and exacerbate the injustices and inequalities in our world. The rich and powerful will benefit, the poor and vulnerable will lose out.
What we need now is a roadmap that shows us how to rethink our societies, our economies, and our politics in ways that are equitable and sustainable. That is a just transition. And this shift requires an end to the production and use of fossil fuels and other environmentally destructive activities across all sectors, from energy to farming to finance to construction and beyond. And this will be one of the greatest transformations our world has ever seen. And it has serious implications for human rights. Are we taking the steps needed to protect people from climate chaos, safeguard their futures, and manage natural resources in ways that respect human rights and the environment? Sadly, the evidence so far is that we are not, particularly in the energy sector. Fossil fuel corporations perpetuate misinformation and disinformation and peddle false solutions and greenwashing that distract from continued damage. And polluters must pay. We must build on proposals, including the Billionaire Tax Initiative and the United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation, to make sure people and corporations that have caused and benefit from planetary harm pay for it. And regulations must protect people and nature from unprincipled corporate behavior. They need to aim to reduce and eliminate discrimination and inequalities, and build systems and services that are inclusive and sustainable. Finally, a just transition, which is fundamental to humanity's present and future well-being, requires solidarity, cooperation, and financial support for many developing economies. I hope all governments represented here today will join forces to meet these urgent needs. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
That's our show for the week. Thank you for watching our inbox. Earthfile at channelstv.com is always available for all your comments and questions. From me, Ayola Kasim, and the Earthfile crew here in Lagos, it's bye for now.